Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome to the start of Season 4 of our F125 Driver Career Mode. Yes, we're here, of course, back for the Australian Grand Prix out at Albert Park. Now, if you missed out on the video that went live about a week ago, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. The season finale, the championship decider between us at Red Bull and Lando Norris and the McLaren Formula 1 team. And when all is said and done, we came out victorious in the end. We beat out Lando Norris in the season finale. We just were able to beat out McLaren in the Constructors' Championship as well. So we're now officially a two-time Formula 1 World Champion inside this game. 2 Drivers' Championships, 2 Constructors' Championships. But I had a bit of a dilemma come the end of last season. My plan was ideally that once we got to the end of Season 3, Verstappen and I, of course, have been having this big fallout between us both. So my plan was going to be that we move to VCARB and effectively then have 2 rival Red Bull teams going at it inside this game. F125 had other ideas. It gave me 2 offers for drives ready for Season 4. Either I could go back to Aston Martin and obviously try and win another World Championship with my old team after, unfortunately, with Hamilton and Ocon at the wheel, they did kind of slip down the order. Or I could move to Ferrari. Now, that seemed like an okay move, and then kind of when I went through the game as well, some of the driver moves are a little bit boring, to be honest. As you can see, a lot of drivers still where they were. I think the only real changes were Andrea Kimi Antonelli replaced me down at Red Bull. Colapinto replaced Hamilton as he retired. And then, I mean, you've got the likes of Paul Aaron, Zane Maloney down at Alpine. I believe, obviously, yep, Jack Doohan now has gone to Sauber. And then I believe Pierre Gasly, bit like actually the My Team series. He ended up moving over to Mercedes. So I left it down to you guys. I gave you guys a vote as to whether you wanted to see me try and win a championship with Ferrari, which, looking at the performance chart, probably would have been quite easy, because it turns out this would have been a perfect move, because Ferrari have got the best car in the sport right now. Or instead, what I was going to do is reset this career mode and hopefully then obviously start out of VCARB and then really try to work them up to the best team in the sport. Over 1,000 of you voted in that poll. A massive thank you to all of you that did. And 55% of you have voted for VCARB. So my 95 rated driver, I might never reach the achievement for getting to 99 rated inside this game. He is, I was going to say dead, but I don't think that's really too fair to kind of describe him. But there we go then. We are going to delete the original save and the F1 driver career mode will effectively be reset right now then. Of course, all the settings are going to be exactly the same, you know, single session qualifying, 110 AI, everything like that. So I'm just going to go through all of this. But yeah, a big change then inside of this game, which of course I think is going to make things quite interesting to kind of see how things pan out as well there. So quickly just obviously going through behind the scenes obviously of all my settings inside the game. So obviously technical faults enabled, mechanical failures enabled as well, of course driver moves, everything like that. Strict track limits though inside this game. I'm trying to get better at obviously running strict track limits inside F125, but I am going to leave formation laps disabled, just because I find them a little bit annoying, to be completely honest to do. But yeah, I think we're ready to go then with all of those settings. Of course, we're going to be running the standard kind of 24 race season, of course this being effectively Season 1 again. I'm going to allow some of the icons in, but it basically just means I allow only the F3 drivers through, because I always feel it's a bit weird kind of racing against Ayrton Senna or anything like that. So yeah, we'll obviously allow those 5 in, and obviously cancel out all the rest of them as well there. So we can get some F3 drivers that maybe I will move up to F1 by the end of the game as well. But obviously we're going to be our own custom driver, so I've got to try and do all that again. Isn't there just an option to carry over the one I was already using? Surely he's in here somewhere. Where has he gone? Has he disappeared? I mean, this has also worked out quite well though, because I've waited until the new update for the game. That basically now means that we should have obviously Franco Colapinto replacing Jack Doohan inside the game as well. So that is all kind of nice to see. that, you know, sometimes timing does actually work quite well inside these games as well there, but obviously everything, yeah, you know, this is all pretty standard stuff. So where is Mr. Monaco inside the game as well? I guess Monaco is going to be more of a challenge now with a backmarker car inside this series, but I'm still going to be viewing this as Season 4. The titles for the videos are still going to be Season 4 and everything like that, so it is more of a continuation, just a bit of an in-game reset more than anything else. It will hopefully mean that obviously things are a little bit more interesting as well. So I think, what's my victory radio call going to be? You know what, we'll go with that, shall we? Let's have a listen. There we go, wonderful. Actually, no, I reckon we're going to an Italian team. Yeah, I reckon we'll go with that one instead, actually, just on the off chance that I can win a race with VCARB throughout this first season. Of course, we are going to be a Red Bull Academy driver as well, just because that increases our likelihood of obviously getting a decent contract down at VCARB as well. Now, VCARB tend to suck inside F125. They normally end up starting out fairly mediocre and then just nosedive throughout the game. So that was kind of one of the big reasons why I wanted to do this series with VCARB, because it feels like pretty much every single season I do, they end up with like no points and no performance inside the game. So I think we're all locked in. I think we're all ready to go. But I guess we need to go do some contract talks.
Finally, let's do this for real. Sorry it took so long. You know what these legal types are like? Yes, sir. No, sir. Here's 80 pages of needless jargon, sir. Anyway, believe it or not, this is my excited face. Come on, come on. Let me show you what we've got. So, all the usual stuff, merchandising, likeness, blah, 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 but the really juicy stuff is their expectation of you. They need you to challenge yourself all season, be the best you can be, dominate your teammate, become a legend. All that jazz. Now, it's over to you.
There we go then. Let's take a look as to whether I can get more acclaim within the team. If I get to 75 rated then by the end of Season 1, we will kick things off with a 47% kind of say in the team as well. So I think that's going to be rather useful. Isaac Hajar, though, of course, is one tough customer. Of course, won the final season of our My Team series. Do you guys remember all these cutscenes? They throw them in for Season 1, and then you never see any of them again. It's kind of quite funny when you think about it. But we are finally then back at base, of course. Normally I would have the number 1 on the car, but a great reset and still in the same apartment, which I think we can be pretty happy with because the views across the Monaco Harbour are pretty nice to see. But I think we're ready to go then. Of course, we've got Laurent Mekies then, obviously now at Red Bull, but obviously we still had to listen to Christian Horner, so that's a good reason as to why I left that team. Anything else that we need to do? Can we immediately get an upgrade on the car? I think we might struggle before this first race. I think I'm going to see you out ready in qualifying.
Hello and a very warm welcome to a brand new season in Formula One. It's 2025. We've got a 4-time world champion joining the grid. Do we have 4 teams in the championship? There's certainly been convergence over the winter months and plenty to look forward to before the huge regulation change in 2026. Now is all about free practice. Let's get straight into it in FP1.
Well, immediately heading out then onto the circuit in qualifying, because apparently we're meant to get rain in about 5 minutes here. So we've got to try and get on with it. But I think our new VCARB suits looks pretty good. I reckon, well, if you pardon the pun, I think it suits us inside this game as well. But yeah, big opportunity for us, of course. VCARB have had a couple of Grand Prix victories, of course, in Formula 1. But obviously, yeah, now with the Verstappen and myself split, Red Bull effectively now have got 2 opportunities, or 4 opportunities, I guess, really, to try and win Grand Prix properly. And this is kind of the only way. Normally, I don't tend to race as VCARB or Red Bull's junior team in Formula 1 games. because I always kind of feel like VCARB's a really odd team in the sport. They're literally there not to win, because obviously if they started winning, then Red Bull would look bad, and obviously all their sponsors wouldn't be happy. So this was kind of like the only narrative I could come up with that would kind of allow VCARB to try and win races inside this game. And, well, hopefully myself and Isaac Hadjar, that is exactly what we're going to do. When is that rain meant to be showing up?
Weather's going to hit in around 5 minutes time, so stay
there
on
you
your
go.
toes.
So immediately the first session of the new year, and the pressure is immediately on everybody. There's already maybe just seeing a couple of spots around the place, but obviously, yeah, with the strict track limits there, we've got to try and get on with it. As I think I just got tagged by Ollie Behrman, trying to set up for our first run there. No idea what the Hassman was doing. Clearly wasn't happy that I overtook him earlier on the outlap, but yeah, just ran into the back of me down at the final couple of corners. Better just get the team to check that we haven't got any diffuser damage or anything like that. But, I mean, really now then, of course, with, I think, basically everybody, there's not that many cars still out on circuit. Obviously, with only the single session qualifying, there's a real chance here to see quite a mixed up grid, especially as the Grand Prix tomorrow. If this is meant to be changeable conditions, that is just meant to be wet there, as Purple through Sector 1, really trying to send the car as we make our way out onto the back straight. Some of you guys have told me that the VCARB is a real handful to drive inside F125, but honestly, through free practice into qualifying so far, it's actually felt pretty good. So if you're in need of some setups for F125, Matt212 Racing, as always, there'll be a link down in the description. We literally yesterday hit 15k subs over on that channel as well, so a massive, massive thank you to everybody for that. But Purple Sector 1, Purple Sector 2, normally Sector 3 is where I really struggle here. Sonoda has done a 117 flat. Hamilton goes to the top of the pile, of course, back up Ferrari. What are we going to be able to do, though, on the run out of the final corner? 16.6, and immediately to the top of the board. Now I just pray that it starts raining almost immediately. As which Aston is that over the line? I don't know. Well, there we go then. Just a little bit gutted that Oscar Piastri was able to best us there by the end of the session. But there was about another 2 minutes before it started raining, and Piastri pips us by just 0.006 of a second. Otherwise, we could have been on pole for our debut for VCARB here. Fernando Alonso will line up third, just ahead of Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton there, with Sonoda, Sainz, Hadjar getting up inside the top 10 ahead of Lando Norris and Esteban Ocon. Mercedes will be a bit disappointed. George Russell down in 11th, but still quicker than Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Ollie Behrman got completely screwed over by crashing into me, because I believe he was the only car that really did not get a run in whatsoever. But yeah, a very mixed up grid. Franco Colapinto, though, on his debut this season with Alpine, does start ahead of Pierre Gasly.
The winter is over. It's time for Formula 1 2025. Yes, that long break that you've all been coping with so well can now be put to the back of your minds. It's on-track action and it's off-track drama. That's what we're looking forward to. We're a stone's throw from the enormous Port Phillip Bay for today's race at the 3.28-mile Albert Park circuit. It's a bumpy racing surface here, and the 14 corners could prove especially difficult in the wet conditions. So watch out for a safety car at some point during this Grand Prix. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Oscar Piastri lines up on pole position, and Mr. Monaco completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Fernando Alonso, Verstappen, and Sir Lewis Hamilton, and Sonoda, Sainz, Hadjar, Norris, and Esteban Ocon, Russell, Hülkenberg, Alex Albon, and Leclerc, Antonelli, Colapinto, Lance Stroll, and Pierre Gasly. Bortoletto and Ollie Behrman rounds off the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
Well, ready on the grid then, of course. you're a double reigning world champion. You've got to be able to deliver whatever is going on. And honestly, quite happy that we got that lap in when we did. Just, 6,000ths of a second. It's such a small margin. Could we, on debut for VCARB, been on the pole here tonight? We can't worry about that, though. We've got 29 laps ahead of us in the Grand Prix, and the team believe the Inter is going to be the way to go. So how will that affect tyre wear throughout today's Grand Prix? Only time will tell. Happy memories, of course, from this circuit. Our debut with Aston Martin, obviously, we finished on the podium. And obviously, then we won here in Season 2. I will make sure I change my name for Episode 2 as well. It's 5 red lights. And the Australian Grand Prix is go, go, go there. And the Australian on pole has not had a good start to the inside. In towards turn 1. Will we be able to immediately take the lead of the Grand Prix there? We've got to make sure that we give Oscar some room around the outside as he's going to try and give me a big old squeeze. Oh, on the exit there, rubbing up against the wall. But we will try and hang alongside him by the time we get down in towards turn 3 and turn 4. And we are still wheel to wheel then with the McLaren man. Many have touted them to have a bit of a resurgence of form this season, but we'll wait and see whether that is going to be the case there as well. Again, Oscar and I. Oh, that's not gone well. I kind of just oversteered towards him, and everybody now is going to fly past us as we make our way down in towards Sector 2 there, but just a little bit of contact with his side pod. I think Oscar Piastri will have got away with that one, and after a perfect qualifying, a nightmare start to the Grand Prix. Leclerc even puts me in the wall on the exit there as everybody struggling for grip off of the restart. We probably should have warned Isaac Hadjar not to do what he did IRL, shouldn't we? But back to the inside of Andrea Kimi Antonelli then. But oh, that has not been ideal for us. We're going to have to try and get our head down and really, really focus up early on in this Grand Prix. It already looks like Piastri's gone. Verstappen trying to go with him though, as there's a huge amount of battling going on behind. Everybody just kind of trying to find some wiggle room and everything like that. So immediately going on the offensive there. Very, very good traction in this VCARB. Actually, is Charles Leclerc. That should be a track limits warning. He ran himself very, very wide through the final sector there. Round the outside we will go though, as Hulkenberg makes the move on Albon just in front. Will we be able to get ahead of Leclerc? We'll get the power down. And by the end of lap 1, 2nd to 13th. Not that ideal on paper, as Albon immediately then trying to look for a run on the Hulk back in towards that first corner. Come on, everybody. Everybody knows there is an opportunity to try and gain out in all of this, as Leclerc again tried it, but cannot find the grip around the outside. Well, having a look then on the mini-map up the front, yeah, like I said, Verstappen and Piastri have really bolted, but Yuki Tsunoda and Lewis Hamilton have kind of got away from everybody else as well, as Hadjar is trying to hang on in there in your top 10 at the moment, so it'd be great for him if he could obviously score some points on debut, or obviously for the start of the new season for the team as well. But of course, this could really set the tone for a lot of the campaign to go. There's Esteban Ocon there and George Russell having a bit of a squabble just in front. It seems like the AI really like to get up on that outside curb, but it just does not provide the grip they need in these slippery conditions there. As to the outside of Alexander Albon, make sure we give him good racing respect there, but just get ahead of him through the final corner. So there we go, up then into 12th spot. Points are right there. I'm not finishing this race without a point on the board. Russell has found a way around Esteban Ocon. It seems like the Haas man is really beginning to struggle, as here goes Hulkenberg looking for a move. Can we make it? Oh, 3 wide. No, Hulkenberg backs out of it. So we will try and go for the double overtake then, down at the end of the back straight. Of course, this VCARB, it does have a lot of parts from the old Red Bull. So it's not, like moving from Aston Martin to Red Bull was. It's not quite as an alien experience as that was. So as we make our way through the final corner, yeah, still definitely got some inherent confidence bedded within. We are, though, back up inside your top 10. But yeah, Russell has bolted. Russell then now starting to build up more and more confidence in this Grand Prix. So I'm trying to chase down the Mercedes man, but Oscar Piastri, Yuki Tsunoda, new fastest laps here, as Oscar, of course, wants to become the first ever Australian not only to podium at home, but also take the Grand Prix victory. How do we compare against those lap times? 32.2. So we definitely aren't as quick as the McLaren or the Red Bull at this stage of the day. But one interesting thing I have found, if you take a look as we get the power down, tyre wear is next to nothing in this Grand Prix so far. We're almost at 1/3 distance. I've never done it before, I don't believe, on F125, but could we try and make a no-stop strategy happen? And that might elevate us back up the order. I think in many ways that spin early on might have just saved us a little bit from ultimately just slowly dropping down the order. But yeah, of course, if we could stretch a no-stop strategy, I'm sure we would leapfrog our way back up, and the inter tyre doesn't wear like the dry tyres do. The pace doesn't really tend to fall off very much. Oh, I thought that was an engine failure then. I thought if that's going to be an engine failure on debut, this probably doesn't bode well. Luckily, it's only the DRS, and well, in these conditions, I don't think that's going to be very useful. That's down the inside of our teammate Isaac Hadjar. I'm sure he's probably been told don't fight it too much. But yeah, Russell now, new fastest lap of the day. But we're doing pretty well. We're staying in a good operating window as soon as I talk about fastest laps, the AI up at the front, bring them even lower. How can Verstappen keep going purple and yet cannot find a way around Piastri? He must be right up his trumpet. Well, track conditions are still really moving around quite a lot, actually. But with both VCARBs inside your top 10 at the moment, I'd be very, very happy if we were able to pick up a double points haul to kickstart the new campaign. But yeah, one lap we lose like a second to Sainz and Russell. The next lap we take 2 seconds back out of them. So it's really, really tricky at the moment to kind of know how much we need to push at this stage of the day. Because, of course, yeah, the tyre wear is still looking like it's going to be possible. Not easy, but possible to stretch it right the way through. But obviously, it's still going to mean we're going to be on the back foot towards the end. And even if we end up ahead of like a Piastri, a Verstappen, even, you know, a Tsunoda or a Hamilton, are we even going to be able to hold them up? Overtaking has been notoriously difficult for most of the AI today. But, you know, Russell's fought his way through. We've been able to make some places. So has Lando Norris. So, tough, but not impossible. Talking of, immediately George Russell then going to try and have a look around the outside of Carlos Sainz there. And is he going to be able to get this one slowed down and hooked up? I think Sainz is still just about there. And this really works out nicely for us then, as Sainz will end up, well, losing the spot. And had I not had that huge snap oversteer, I could have been tempted to try and get down his inside at the final couple of corners. But every time it feels like Russell loses a bit of time behind some of the slower cars. And then as soon as I catch him up, he then finally makes the move and scampers away again. So very, very tricky to try and manage things. But yeah, Sainz, though, having a pretty good day out, of course, very well nestled in with this Williams organisation now, as how late can I be on the brakes? About that late? Well, I get it stopped just about. There we go. Russell immediately then dives into the pit lane, so he's going to try and lock in, get himself onto that fresh set of inters and really use the pace up towards the end of the afternoon. As look at that, we're not even going to come out ahead of Oscar Piastri then, so that strategy might be out the window unless I can get a big run on him off of turn 1 and turn 2. But I have come out against one of my old rivals, Max Verstappen there, re-emerging a few seconds behind, actually behind Carlos Sainz. So I think he's had a slow pit stop then in this Grand Prix, but unless I can literally get past Piastri this lap, I don't think the opportunity is going to open up. As there you go, he seems to have got some temperature now into the tyres. So I think Oscar there looking very, very good. I mean, I've got no loyalty to Max Verstappen. I'm not going to try and work with him here, which might be a bit weird for the Dutchman not having a VCARB that is just going to jump out of his way. But we're here to fight. But yellows, we've got yellows. Someone isn't going to be here to fight further back. I believe that might be Hulkenberg. That is going to be our first retirement then of the afternoon. So disappointment for the German, who had been running pretty well up to this point in the Grand Prix. Is it Hulkenberg? Whoever it is, they're taking a long time to retire from this Grand Prix. I mean, they're in a very high-speed part of the circuit. Could that be a safety car? It's actually Bortoletto, sorry, not the Hulk. It's VSC. Oh, no, that works out beautifully for quite a few of the AI a bit further back. I still don't think I want to pit in this race. But for Oscar Piastri, then, this might be terrible timing, as that might put Yuki Tsunoda now to the front of the order, and it has done. So a horribly timed VSC there, as I don't think we're going to be able to get the jump on Hamilton. But Yuki Tsunoda suddenly up to the lead of the Grand Prix. Verstappen has lost out in all of this as well. But is Oscar Piastri going to be able to try and find a way back around his rival? We were going to be comfortably 1 and 2 here, but that has not happened. as Lando Norris is going to re-emerge way further back. But I cannot believe the timing of that VSC, and suddenly Tsunoda, on his return to Red Bull, is up at the front of the order then. Can we try and catch Hamilton unawares? Obviously, it's his return back to Ferrari. A little bit of contact there. Was a bit of a miscommunication between myself and my fellow Brit, but down the inside we will muscle our way through and up then back into the podium places. Hamilton, I'm sure, and Ferrari won't be happy about that one. Away we go, Oscar Piastri. He's not going to wait around long to try and get the run on Yuki Tsunoda then to the outside, and I'm sure Tsunoda just wants to pick up a good result, but imagine a win for him in this season opener would take the lead of the World Championship. And look at that, Yuki getting the elbows out. He doesn't care that it's Oscar Piastri's home Grand Prix. He just wants to see if he can try and bag his first win, I believe, ever inside this series there. It's been a tough old time for Yuki. I've seen him do well in other series inside this game, but this has just not been one of them for him, as Hamilton and Verstappen new fastest laps of the day, and suddenly what was a 2-car battle for the lead has become a 5-car train. I think we might be starting to see a little bit of a shift then towards the end of this Grand Prix as well. Hamilton and Verstappen wheel to wheel. That's something that we've certainly said more than once before, as I think Verstappen hungry trying to attack and challenge us towards the end of this Grand Prix. Bad enough getting beaten by us, obviously, when we were in the same car. If he loses out to us when we are now in the sister team, really not a great look for the Dutchman, is it? Especially whilst his teammate currently leads this Grand Prix there, but Hamilton will hang on that time round as Lando Norris now flying up towards this front group. But Yuki Tsunoda still doing the business up at the front of the order here. I was hoping it looked temporarily like the track might be drying out just a little bit, and of course that would benefit our older, more worn-in intermediate tyres. Doesn't look to be the case though. You can't just see immediately, it just means we start slipping and sliding around. Luckily we've got a couple of seconds now over Lewis Hamilton once again. Yeah, unless Piastri can try and do anything against Yuki here, it's gonna be looking like the Japanese driver. Could he be on for his first ever Formula 1 victory? Oh, there we go. Immediately, Piastri must have heard that and wants to try and make the move. Oscar Piastri to the outside of Yuki Tsunoda, and who is going to come out on top in this scenario there? Tsunoda once again not willing to back out of it, but Oscar seems to have the wing in front. Is there any possible way we can get involved in this fight there as trying to maximise the track width just behind him there? Tsunoda will shovel the Australian out. So Oscar Piastri's engine's gone. No, 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 no. Oscar Piastri tried to challenge Tsunoda for the lead, and the Australian curse is set to continue then. Here in the land down under, spent most of this Grand Prix in the lead. You'd make the argument that it's probably less agonising for him to have an engine failure from second than from P1, but everything falling into place for Yuki Tsunoda right now, but also for myself. Red Bull versus VCARB. I was hoping this would be a battle at some point inside this series, but I wasn't expecting it to happen immediately as we got another VSC. That's a bit of a shame, but it probably helps me out. A little bit further behind then, Verstappen now moving up into third spot here, so it is now Red Bull, VCARB, Red Bull potentially on the podium then, but Yuki Tsunoda just still trying to control the pace up at the front of the order. 6 laps to go of the Australian Grand Prix. It's certainly been a pretty wild one up to this point. Can we also just appreciate, I've only had one warning so far. I'm hoping I'm not jinxing myself, but as kind of more and more practice for strict track limits, I'm pretty happy with how I've driven today. Oh, that's not good. Tyre warning light now is immediately flashed up. We are under pressure from Pirelli towards the end of this Grand Prix. Probably not a great look, obviously, if we're able to no-stop this one. But I guess, I suppose everybody else is pit, so it is just down to the strategy gamble, isn't it? As that seems to be where Yuki really struggles. He kind of gets up on that outside curb through the exit there, and we always seem to gain a bit more on him. But then again, through other parts of the lap, especially, you know, some of the lower speed, more grip-orientated stuff, we are just really struggling to hang with him. I think it's a combination of dirty air and obviously the lack of grip that these intermediates provide now, but we're still hanging on. Honestly, to be back where we started, I'm pretty happy with at this point. It's just the fact it's a Red Bull in front. Max Verstappen now has really got the bit between his teeth late on in the day. He senses an opportunity for victory. But Tsunoda, again, another little wobble. Oh, we will get the car to the inside of one Red Bull as the other one watches on just behind. And for the first time since lap 1, we are up into P1 there. Verstappen can't follow us through, but finally into the lead of the Australian Grand Prix. The real question is, though, will we be able to stay here? These tyres now are feeling pretty wrecked at this stage. 70% near enough are on the rear. So yeah, Yuki Tsunoda still tucked up right behind me, right up under our rear wing. So we've just got to make sure that we keep the car placed exactly where we need it. I knew I had to make the move before the last lap. Otherwise, obviously, the AI dump all of their battery, and you can't do anything against them there. But look at that, just trying to overstep it slightly, and immediately the VCARB is punishing us. A lot of you guys are saying that it's definitely more notorious, obviously, when the tyres are pretty worn out as well. It just becomes incredibly slippery and slidey car here, but as long as we can save some battery and then dump it down the straights. I mean, look at that, we've got both Red Bulls right up my trumpet. And like I said, I was hoping this would be a battle we'd have at some point this season, but I wasn't expecting it in literally round 1. Oh, here we go, Verstappen. Verstappen now trying to have a look around the outside of Tsunoda behind me, and maybe this is our chance to scamper away with just 1 lap to go of this Grand Prix. I think, yeah, Verstappen's done it. Yuki Tsunoda, they're trying to fight him, but he knows still that his teammate has got the better chance of trying to claim victory for Red Bull. And look at that, after 28 laps of racing, my old rivalry, my old beef with Max Verstappen has immediately reared its ugly head to kickstart the new campaign. An annoying incident early on, but then the masterstroke of strategy has brought us back in contention this afternoon. Red Bull versus VCARB to kickstart the season. I don't expect this to be a fight that rages on every single weekend, but we've got to take the opportunities when we can. And the thought of leading the World Championship yet again, winning with yet another team inside this series, it would be huge for us. I mean, look at that, Verstappen practically pushing me by the time we get out onto the back straight there. We've just got to try and drain the battery, though. I've made sure to charge up the pack as best as I can to give ourselves some breathing room from the Dutchman there. And once again, I think we've just about got enough. Have we? Actually, Verstappen's gaining on us. Surely he's not going to be able to look around the outside down into the chicane, and we will slam the door shut on any kind of opportunity through there. Get the power down on the exit. Make sure we're nice and smooth with the throttle. But as we make our way in towards the final couple of corners of the Grand Prix, we won here with Aston Martin. I don't believe we won here with Red Bull. But through the final corners, it was a huge gamble. It was a huge switch to join VCARB this season as Verstappen tries to push me through the final couple of corners. Out of the final turn, though, on debut for VCARB, we have beaten Red Bull. That is P1.
Absolutely awesome. Just amazing, mate. Well done.
Another superb Australian Grand Prix comes to an end then, and it's a thoroughly deserved victory.
Well, they kept us guessing during pre-season testing. We all wondered who it was going to be, and to have them drawn out here today, that they are the ones to beat, just goes to show that all the work they put in has really counted.
As we await the winners to take their positions on the podium, one thing is clear today. RB have really shown their prowess on the track. This is a team that isn't afraid to take risks, whether that's on the circuit or in the new talents they hire. Today, those risks certainly paid off.
Well, after the half spin on lap 1, I thought, you know, if we could just finish, top 5, maybe get a podium towards the end of the Grand Prix, I was going to be very, very happy. But P1 on a no-stop strategy, those tyres were absolutely cooked by the end of the afternoon. Max Verstappen, though, I'm still smiling on the outside, happy to get a podium here, but he will be livid that once again I got the better of him there, and I believe definitely for the first time since I remember, but a Honda-powered 1-2-3 in Formula 1 as well. Absolutely what we want to see there. Yuki Tsunoda, I'm sure a little bit gutted not to take the victory after leading quite a few laps late on, but no one will be more disappointed than Oscar Piastri in this season opener. Yet again, the Australian curse rears its ugly head. Lando Norris in 4th, though, ahead of Hamilton, Alonso, Sainz, Russell, Leclerc, and Isaac Hadjar, to his credit, did bag a point as well, so a solid drive by him to kickstart the new year. Andrea Kimi Antonelli just ahead of Esteban Ocon and Franco Colapinto, returning, of course, to this series down at Alpine in P13. Come the checkered flag, it was just Piastri and Bortoleto who failed to see the finish. Of course, Drivers' Championship, exactly the same as our race result. Constructors-wise, though, look at that, Red Bull and VCARB, 1 and 2 in the Constructors so far. That does look rather peculiar, but I kind of like it so far there. McLaren and Ferrari tied on 12 points apiece, just ahead of Aston Martin, Williams and Mercedes. So just Alpine, Haas and Kick Sauber that failed to score a point. Thank you all so much for watching, though. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed. We will be back tomorrow as Formula 1 heads out to Shanghai after a pretty miraculous race today. Can we do it again? 2 opportunities, of course, with it being a sprint. Hopefully, I will see you there.